Welcome aboard the Athletics Can't Wait Jets podcast, your nonstop shop for all things Jets with Tim McMaster, Zack Rosenblatt, and Marissa Dunn.
Can't wait.
Welcome into what is going to be a fun episode of Can't Wait, despite there being plenty of angst around the Jets right now, heading into another matchup with the New England Patriots. Please subscribe on YouTube. If you're checking us out there, give us 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Tim McMaster here, along with Zack Rosenblatt, our Jets reporter at The Athletic. And we welcome back to the show Marissa Dunn and Madison Dunn.
Who's clearly not a fan of the show. And she's hitting up as we start. So
she's like,
come on, girl.
That was perfect.
In her defense, we're not talking about the Browns. We're talking about
she that's from what she heard we were going to talk about the Jets Cowboys game, and she threw up.
She was like, oh yeah.
So if you're not watching us on YouTube, if there was ever a reason to jump over and check out the YouTube version of the show, it's this one, because Marissa's on holding Madison. How old is Madison right now, Marissa?
She will be 3 months in 8 days. It's crazy. This parenthood thing is wild. Yeah. Time flies. It's nuts. God. Yeah.
So the best pod mom in the business, now a real mom. But my first real question for you is, what's more difficult? Parenting a 3-month-old or producing Connor Hughes?
I don't know.
They're similar.
She's sleeping through the night. Like, she eats
we have no evidence that Connor sleeps through the night.
Yeah. And Connor used to text us at all hours of the day. So I honestly think she's easier.
Seems like she cries less.
Yes. I will say Connor did send me a very sweet book that had Madison's name in the book, and it was, I mean, we all know Bree probably did it, but I will give Connor a little shout out. He's going through, his daughter's pretty much a week older than her. So it's kind of fun that we're at the same stage, and, not like he's doing all the work that I'm doing, but,
I don't know, he might
shout out to Bree. Yeah.
If golf counts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in Arizona right now posting videos of himself golfing. I'm like, I don't know if you should be sharing that.
Right. Well, his wife she's already back to work too.
Yeah.
So
anyway, enough about Connor.
Yes.
So before we move on to the rest of the show, and we have one more thing to get to before we talk about the Jets, but Marissa, I mean, you've had time to watch a lot of football. Obviously you watch a lot of the Browns because everything is right with the world with Michael back on the 53 man, which I think all of the people listening appreciate as well. But what's been your take on this wild Jets season so far?
I mean, like every other Jets fan out there, I'm sure that Rodgers injury, I still to this day, I can't even believe that this is how the season is going. And feel really bad for Jets fans.
You're returning to the same Jets as you left, pretty much. Yeah,
it's insane, and everyone wanted to see how the season would play out with Rodgers at quarterback, and I feel like everyone has said this at this point, but I was pretty heartbroken for Jets fans because they waited so long for that. So I mean, hey, the season's not over. I will say, I feel like Zach Wilson has grown a lot, as a player, hopefully, and person, so let's just, positive vibes and hope that, something good can come out of all of this.
And hey, friend of the Dunn family, Tim Boyle is the number 2 now. So.
Yes. I mean, we're big Tim Boyle fans over here. Michael trains with him in the off season. So I'm not like I don't want to see Zach do well, but Tim is a good friend of Michael's. So yeah.
So the beginning of this show used to be known for nonsense golf talk, right? But now listeners come for different reasons. And I think it's well known now that we are the preeminent Jets podcast for Swifties because it's just what we do here. So with that, Zack, what are your feelings? Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. This is NFL talk still, so people can't get too
technically
mad
still applies.
We're talking about the NFL. Is it a thing? Is it not?
The Jets
a thing?
do play the Chiefs next. The Jets play the Chiefs next week too, so it kind of applies.
We're getting so we can keep talking about this.
Yeah. We can keep it going.
Will Taylor be at the game?
Oh,
what do you think?
Oh man, that would be delightful if she was. So because I am now a Swiftie and I am dating an actual Swiftie, I am also aware that actually I shouldn't act like I heard this from my girlfriend. I saw it when I Googled this. I saw Taylor Swift is wearing like a pendant or something with Travis Kelce's birthstone on it, according to the internet. So
Oh my gosh, we're going that far.
and I think it's good for both parties. Travis is great. We love Taylor. I'm all about it. I can't wait to see what kind of album she writes in a couple years when we break up. So.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe some football puns in there.
By the way, I thought about wearing my Taylor Swift concert shirt, and then I remembered I had to be at the Jets facility to do this pod. So I thought maybe that wouldn't be the right place for that.
But speaking
Brian
of
Sternbach says this is the podcast for Golf Talk Swifties. Streveler react. Oh, I don't even know what that says. Streveler Maniacs. Is going, and Jess updates in that order.
Exactly. And he forgot like bashing Connor. No.
Yeah, bashing Connor. We do baby talk these
days.
Yes,
we can include baby talk. But we were discussing before we got on here that you were just watching, and I already finished it, the Jason Kelce documentary on Amazon Prime. And I highly recommend, like, if you like football, like it is such a good behind the scenes look of his life last year. And he was pondering retirement and with his daughters and his wife and his brother, his mom, like it was a really, really well put, the journalism nerd in me, like thought they did an excellent job. It's very honest. I cried several times. So
I was gonna say I'm only on 30 minutes in. I think you expect this Jason Kelce if anybody's followed him because he's kind of like brutally honest anyway. But like, you never know with these documentaries how much they're actually going to show. Like you see, like I didn't watch the Johnny Manziel one, but I know people were pretty critical of like, it only showed like kind of what he probably wanted them to show. Whereas like this, like you're seeing Kelce in the beginning talking about like how he needs to forget what he said. He needs to take anti-inflammatories in order to play football now. Like, and so it's like seeing like the toll football takes on you, like while
and
also being like
side of it.
Yeah, being the mental side of it, being an offensive lineman who get banged up probably more than anybody, as you know. Like the physical toll that takes on you, and just like once you starting to reach the end of your career, like what's next in your life and all that stuff. Like they're doing so far from what I've watched, they're doing a really good job. But I expected that because in order for those things to work, the athletes need to grant them like full access, and they need to like really like break down the walls. And I don't think a lot of times these documentaries do that, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I almost got late coming to practice today because I was watching it and I couldn't put it down. So
we watched it like almost, I think it was like the night it came out, and I was the one that was like, oh, we need to watch it. And obviously Michael would have watched it, but
I'm sure Michael loved it.
Yeah, right? We finished and I'm like crying and and he's like, wow, that was really good. He was like, I didn't know what to expect, and that was like way better than I expected. And he said a bunch of the guys were talking about it within the Browns facility.
That's cool.
I highly recommend listeners check that out.
Yeah. It's good that the Jets chatter is actually ongoing in the comments section.
Yeah, they're talking about the Jets, so we don't.
Oh wait, is this a Jets podcast?
Yeah, we're getting there now.
If you want Jets talk, just go to the chat. Don't go to the podcast.
right. Marissa, stick around as long as you want. But
I just handed the baby off, so I got a little more time.
Okay. All right.
I was sweating. So.
All right, let's move on to this team. And one thing I want to do on this episode each week this season, Zach, is just because it's always like, how do you pull this together for a preview? And I think one way to do it is just, what are they saying? So we'll use some different sound and just different quotes and kind of talk about how we're getting from like last week to this week. So we'll start with today because Nathaniel Hackett talked today, and obviously some tough questions after that Cowboys game and how things went down there. One thing he talked about was the fact that, and we talked about this on Tuesday, I think, they didn't really double Micah Parsons at all, and he tore them up. He said we had a lot of different hands we wanted to put on him. As the game got out of hand, you need to get more guys out. We needed to get some quick, easy completions. We even underestimated his speed on the quick game. It's one of those things. We looked at the tape, we corrected it, and saw how we can help ourselves with that. So I guess he's already spinning it forward to like, yes, he dominated us, but we'll be better next time.
Yeah, I didn't really get that explanation. I think that would have been a time to just like say we messed up. Honestly, the fans obviously were not happy with that, and I get like, you shouldn't be surprised about how fast Micah Parsons is. I think everybody knows what he is at this point. And it was confounding then, and it still is now. That I mean, there's a clip that's like going around Jets Twitter of Connor McGovern going one-on-one with him. Like there should be no scenario where the center is going one-on-one with Michael Parsons. So and Dwayne Brown, like, he could have done better, but I don't know how much better he could have done against him. They just didn't give enough help, and they need to play, whether it's Uzomah or Rucker, they need to give help, or they need a chip block with the running back. Like it's not 100% on the offensive line when you're going against a star defensive end like that. So he made Hackett made a lot of excuses today. I didn't agree with a lot of them. They keep going back to the well of we didn't have that many snaps too, in terms of the like, why didn't Breece Hall get the ball more? Why didn't Mecole Hardman get the ball more? They keep referring to the fact that they didn't have a lot of snaps. Well, you had over 40, and Breece Hall still had only 4 touches. So how many snaps do you need before you can have more than 4? These are obvious fixes, and you hope that they handle the obvious stuff. So like, if there's other problems that are not as obvious, then maybe we can talk about it a little differently. But I think it was a poor coaching job the other day, personally.
Yeah, and he didn't really admit to it. You'd love to hear him just say, like, yeah, it's on us, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of coaches that do that. And I feel like when you play that card, it actually goes over well with everybody. I think the team respects it. I think fans respect it, just like, but I don't know. But who knows how he feels about the quarterback at this point too, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's saying all the right things about the quarterback, but it's going to be something to watch. I mean, they play Matthew Judon this week, so it doesn't get any easier.
And Belichick.
Yeah, and we'll get into that after we get
Belichick,
through this.
yeah.
What they're saying.
Really...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not Micah Parsons, but
very good. Yeah.
He can get to the quarterback for sure. All right, about the Patriots this week. Garrett Wilson went on Bart Nahan. He said, "It's time that things change around here. I don't like talking about it too much, but this is one of the first steps. 14 straight is unacceptable. That's unacceptable. I'm 0-2 against them. That's unacceptable. There's one easy way to not have to talk about it anymore, right?
Beat them finally. Yes.
Just win the game.
Not really that much to say here. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the message that seems to be coming out of I think it's a solid directed message. They keep saying that like almost nobody from that losing streak is still here, so it doesn't apply to them necessarily. But this is New York. This is the Jets. Bill Belichick has been torturing them for a very long time.
The fans are still here,
Yeah, the fans are still here, and they like if you lose, like it still all applies together because it's happened in a row. And Zach Wilson's been the quarterback for 4 of them and lost all 4. On top of all of that, you can send the Patriots to 0-3, which I think would add something a little extra special to it. Because it's hard to come back from 0-2. It's harder to come back from 0-3, and then the flip side, which we'll get into later. Like if the Jets lose this one, then things could go off the rails pretty quick too. So it's a weirdly important Week 3 game.
Marissa, I was going to say that the Jets have not beaten the Patriots in the history of the Can't Wait podcast, and much further back. But
what year did you guys start?
2019.
Yeah.
They were pretty bad back then too. So
yeah. I mean, I just feel like Belichick just knows exactly what to do, when to do it, whenever it comes to the Jets. So, I mean, hey, like we can only be optimistic, right? Let's maybe they will turn it around this week. I'm going to come on here and, because I'm not really here for the season, and just try and be like this bright light for Jets fans.
You're positive.
Why not? Like
you're not around the Jet stuff as much as before.
Exactly.
So
this is like a sample.
Creeping in,
yes, I've been tuning into podcasts, but then I'll end up doing something else, or the baby will start crying, or
you get distracted by Browns drama. Yeah.
So she'll need to be whatever. So if I'm going to come on here for this episode before they play the Patriots, why not? And then when they win, I want everyone to clip this off and be like, yeah,
she said
it. And if it's terrible, then this doesn't exist.
This never happened. Yeah.
Well, make sure you pick them in the picks.
Yes.
Too, Marissa.
I think I did okay in that last week. I need reminders every week because even when you reminded me, I still forgot.
You missed Thursday, right?
You're a little distracted.
I used to shout out to all the parents out there because, mom brain, parent brain is a real thing. So
Joseph Catania says that you got to come back next week if they do win this week.
Okay, deal.
So you can do a victory.
Who's next week? Yeah. Who's next week?
They got the Chiefs next week. So.
Oh, okay.
You'll be less confident next week, I think.
So that actually gives me a nice plug because I just saw that this Sunday airing, Derek Jeter does a sit-down interview with Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Sign me up for that.
There you
Very
go.
excited for that.
Derek Jeter doing interviews
Derek
now?
Jeter, yes, because he's working for Fox.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Any Derek Jeter sports interview, I'm there. So.
There you go. I'm gonna pass.
All right, next up we have Sauce Gardner. We actually have this audio. Here we go.
You gotta. I'm not gonna say they don't really have a complex offense. You know, it's pretty simple for like the quarterback to get. The gap scheme, everything is really like simple, but it's like they excel at it. You know what I mean? What they try to do is get other people to mess up and make mistakes. And, you know, they just do everything right.
That's kind of always been the Patriots' way, although the not making mistakes hasn't fit as much the last couple of years, especially last year. But this is a different offense, right? Bill O'Brien's back. He's a guy who's proven at the pro level, at the college level. And the offense does, if you watch the Patriots games, it's not great, but it makes sense this year, Zach. Like you watch the plays and you're like, all right, that seems to make sense. Whereas last year, nothing made sense.
And by the way, I should say that people took those Sauce comments. I think he was stating facts, but when a player from the other team says an offense is simple, I think it's taken as like trash talk or whatever. And so I don't know if knowing Belichick, I think he uses everything as bulletin board material. Like anytime guys say it, which is why nobody says anything on the Patriots. His whole thing is like he shows clips of the other team like saying like we're gonna win the Super Bowl, this and that. So I'm sure he showed them what Sauce said or whatever. But Sauce was literally stating facts. It's a simple offense, and a lot of that is probably because of Mac Jones. And their offense shouldn't scare anybody. Like if you contain their running game, they're not really that scary. So. If the Jets defense wants to be taken seriously, they need to like dominate on Sunday, and then hopefully the Jets offense. You know, last year you remember they lost that second game 10-3, and it was only because of the punt return touchdown at the very end. They gave up like no yards, and even Carl Lawson was like, "Well, we gave up 3 points, so that's on us." like that's the level of standard they had to be held to last year. So you hope that they have Brees this time, which they didn't last year actually against the Patriots. So I think they have a better roster. Their defense should dominate that offense, but it's going to come down to Zach Wilson again. So,
all right. Here, speaking of Zach, let's switch things over and let's hear from Bill Belichick talking about the offense and defense. We'll start with the offense, where he didn't put any bulletin board material up there, but he wasn't exactly praising of the Jets. Here you go.
You know, offensively, it's in a big offensive line. A lot of talented guys up there, 4 first-round picks. They took Tippmann this year, so pretty talented group. Good running backs. Obviously, we didn't see Hall last year, but I mean he's a really good player. Wilson, Lazard. I mean, obviously, Wilson, really athletic quarterback. We've seen him before, so
really athletic quarterback. We've seen him before. That's usually Bill will fake like somebody is amazing, like he used to do with Adam Gase all the time, but couldn't even do it here.
Yeah, athletic. Didn't even say anything about his arm strength or like he's, he can make big play. I mean, there's a few things like he could have brought up the big touchdown to Garrett Wilson last week. There's a lot of ways he could have gone there. And I don't know. I don't know if that's a case of he thinks, but you wonder how much Belichick thinks about these press conferences, if they're like really calculated and he's doing things, or if he's just so miserable up there.
Well, I think you're missing the key line was we've seen him before.
Yeah.
Right.
We know what to do.
Yeah, totally.
That's how I took that.
But by the way, in perfect Belichick fashion, I'm sure you don't have the beginning of the clip, but like the first thing he talks about is special teams. He talks about like Gibson.
Oh yeah. He praised the special teams.
And I think he even talked about Justin Hardy, I believe.
Hardy.
Yeah. So that's like very, very Belichick. But yeah, and then
you would have thought Gibson was the most exciting. Well, maybe he is, but was the best player on the Jets based on the press conference.
Clip,
but
right?
maybe he's, he does that, and maybe he thinks that psychs out Zach Wilson a little bit. I don't know how deeply he plays the chess game. But as far as the defense goes, he had some nicer things to say about the Jets defense.
Defensively, they're aggressive. Certainly, Gardner's was a great addition for him last year, and have a real good front, disruptive front. Johnson's playing well. They drafted McDonald, obviously Williams, Franklin Myers. Those guys are tough. they play about 9 guys up there, and they all play, and they're all disruptive. But I think Mosley's really the guy who, is really a key guy for him on the defense. He's one of the best, most instinctive players in the league.
He has these guys around the league that he just latches onto, right?
Yeah.
And Mosley has always been that guy
Every year.
with the Jets, right? He just loves Mosley. You can tell which guy he wishes he could have gotten.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's why I've always said if and when Mosley eventually leaves the Jets, it just seems like he's destined to play for him. Because although I kind of thought he would hire Adam Gase based on how he talked about him, so maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, he loves him some Mosley. I haven't really noticed Mosley through the first 2 games, but he is obviously an important part of the defense. So
yeah, that's the thing though. This isn't 3 years ago Mosley. This is older Mosley, but Belichick still loves him. All right, so that's kind of what's been being talked about around the league. Should we move on to full matchups, I guess, as far as this Patriots game goes? First one, you talked about it, the matchup of just the teams and where they're at. 0-2 Patriots, 1-1 Jets. Both teams have had tough schedules. Obviously, we know what the Jets have been through, but when you look at the Patriots, Eagles week 1, Dolphins week 2, they played well defensively in that Dolphins game.
They were close in both games.
Right, in both games.
Yeah.
It's a really good 0-2.
They had that lateral play against the Dolphins. Yeah. Everybody's mad about that they didn't call it a first down. Yeah.
I feel like they're a very good 0-2 team, but I also feel like there's no such thing as a really good 0-3 team. That's right. Once you're 0-3,
I'm sure Belichick wouldn't say there's a good 0-2 team either.
No, that's true too. But it is I'm trying to think of week 3 games where both teams were kind of at a desperation point, and it feels like that, right?
Yeah, this is gonna be pretty important. I think a lot of stats that people throw out after a team is 0-2 are not as applicable as they used to be because of the extra wild card that there is now. So I think it makes it a little more possible to bounce back. But yeah, I think you're gonna see whatever team loses this game, it's gonna be a fork in the road moment. 0-3 for the Patriots. What do they do? Do they go and try and improve the roster, or do they just roll with what they have? Because their offense is not very scary, like I said. And if the Jets are 1-2 and Zach Wilson's struggling again, do the Jets finally go and add another quarterback or not? I think is going to be the big question coming out of this game. So,
or Tim Boyle.
Or start Tim Boyle. Yeah,
Strevler.
We can't bring him. They can't bring Strevler back yet. I think it has to be a certain amount of time before they can.
Right.
But another reporter was asking me when they bring him back. It's a very interesting week 3 game. I can't believe we're going to another again. It just feels like deja vu of last year again. We're going into a Patriots game wondering if Zach Wilson can handle Bill Belichick.
So far, the answer has been no, but we'll see. And Hackett too. You have to think about it.
Yeah,
too, right?
Yeah. If you're going Belichick versus Nathaniel Hackett, who are you going to give the edge to in that one? So.
Yeah. Let's look at those the other matchups. So Zach Wilson against this Patriots defense. The Patriots defense is very good, obviously. But one thing that's on the secondary, Jonathan Jones banged up last week a couple of times. He's questionable right now. Their first-round draft pick, Christian Gonzalez, looks great through a couple of weeks. He fell to the Patriots at 17 in the draft. Yeah. A lot of people thought he'd be a top 10 guy, and they got him at 17. And I don't want to say he's this year's Sauce Gardner. I don't think he's that kind of shutdown guy, but he's a really good rookie cornerback. How do you see that matching up with Garrett Wilson and these Jets receivers?
The Patriots do have a really good defense. Hackett had a comment today about, because he was asked about Garrett Wilson, and he was he wants the ball. We love that about him. He's intense, but we're not going to throw it to him all game. And he understands that. We're not going to throw it to him every play. And I'm why not? Why not throw it to him every play?
You could.
I feel like there are worse things you could do. The worst thing to do is only throw it to him 5 times in a game. So, you just got to funnel the ball to Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. I keep saying that over and over and over again, and maybe work in McCole Hardman. But yeah, as long as they can get Garrett going, I think this offense can do something. And again, having Breece he needs the ball more than 4 times. Like get your best players the ball. And if it doesn't work, then we can talk about, what went wrong. But right now, the most obvious thing that they're not doing, if you remove the blocking part of it, is that they're not getting their best players the ball. So that's the best way to counteract it in terms of the passing game.
All right, and then there's the rush, which is the other big thing. We mentioned Judon, but he's no Micah Parsons, but the Patriots have watched the film, right, from the game against the Cowboys, and I would imagine they're going to do their best to make Matthew Judon do the things that Micah Parsons did, or try to do some of those things.
Yeah, Judon. I think they do a 3-4, and so they have Judon as an outside linebacker. One thing that Hackett said that they do with him is sometimes they'll make it seem like he's dropping back into covers, and then he'll just rush. So like he adds like a different sort of like trickery to it. And I think he goes from both the right and the left side. So it'll be both on Becton and Brown. Brown I think he didn't practice today, Thursday, and he didn't practice yesterday. So I guess if he practices Friday might determine if he plays. If he does, I think they're going to roll with the same 5. And if you're rolling with the same 5 and not making any changes, I think you have to play Ruckert and or Uzama more, ideally Ruckert, and just give those guys help. Like whatever side you see Judon on, do that. And they have Josh Uche on the other side, who's also pretty good. So it's going to be a big game. Becton and Dwayne Brown might be like the keys to this game. Because if they're getting beat routinely, then it's going to be a long day.
And I'm all for using a 6th offensive lineman. I mean,
oh yeah, that's Michael's special. That's why the Jets
jumbo tight end. Let's go.
That's why the Jets should have brought him in.
Why aren't they doing that? Yeah.
Well, but they don't do that at all. Like a lot of teams do that. The
Yeah.
Jets never do that on like goal line stuff.
Yeah. The Browns bring in 2.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
linemen.
Yeah.
That last game they brought in Nick Harris as a fullback for several plays. Yeah.
And the Jets have a fullback that they didn't really use last week either. So there's another way to get more blocks.
They also have some tight ends that can block, right? And like Salah said this week, that Ruckert's got to get in the game a little more. So is that the way you kind of help?
It's not the fix.
Rush?
It's not the fix all, certainly. And he is a young player without much experience. But I just think get your best blockers out there, and once you get the running game established, then they won't think that you're either running it every play or that you're going to throw it short or whatever. Like, so you got to establish the run.
All right. Next up on the matchups, we switch it to the other side of the ball. This Patriots offensive line generally is a very solid unit, but they're banged up as well, which maybe bodes well. Trent Brown is questionable, a left tackle. Cole Strange, questionable left guard. And Onwenu on the right side at right guard, also questionable. Who knows? Those guys could all be healthy by game time and play. But knowing what the Jets' strengths are, that feels like a possible advantage for the Jets.
Yeah, the defensive line, I think I mentioned this on Tuesday. They didn't really get home as much against the Cowboys as you would like. So this should be a get-right game for them. One of their starting offensive tackles is Calvin Anderson. He was a guy who was with the Jets in 2019, I think, on their practice squad. I've never heard of him before, so I'm sure some Jets fans did. But so they clearly don't have like the best offensive line, I would say. So yeah, it's an opportunity for guys like Quinnen and Jermaine Johnson and JFM to kind of have a good game.
Brian Stern back in the chat says, are we expecting a different rotation on the defensive line, or is it going to be the same? I guess another question with that is like, is Will McDonald going to be active?
Yeah, I think I think they do have enough injured guys that maybe he might just be active naturally. I'm curious to see if he plays at all. And I also am not sure if Carl Lawson will start playing more or not, because he didn't play very much last week. So those will be the 2 things I have my eye on.
Other spots on the Patriots offense versus the defense. We talked about Mac Jones. He's a guy that I think one of his strengths is what the Jets would love Zach Wilson to be able to do. And that is that, as Madison chimes in on this topic, get rid of the ball quickly. Mac Jones is actually pretty good at that. I think part of it is the way that the Patriots offense is designed versus what the Jets offense, which was designed for Aaron Rodgers, is designed. But like, how much will that hurt the Jets pass rush? The fact that Mac Jones is pretty good at just, dump offs and dink and dunk.
I mean, that's kind of how the Cowboys started really going off on them.
They don't have a CeeDee Lamb, luckily.
Yeah, exactly. Should we let Marissa get out of here to tend to her crying baby?
Sorry, guys. She did really good. When I make it 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for coming back, Marissa. Here, we miss you.
Yes. Yeah, I miss you guys. I will keep listening, and good luck, Jets fans. I'm pulling for you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
But yeah, to your question, that's how teams have always kind of attacked this defense, because the Jets do a good job on like the outside. So it is Michael Carter II is banged up. I think he practiced yesterday, so I'm assuming he'll be able to play. Tony Adams is banged up. Not sure if he will play. So they're going to attack the safeties and the linebackers in coverage mainly, and Michael Carter II. And like we said, their receivers do not scare me. They have Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, and
Juju.
And Juju. I think Juju goes out of the slot. Juju's not like explosive or anything, but dink and dunks, and they have Ramondre Stevenson out of the backfield, who's pretty talented. So it's I mean, that's the way to beat this Jets defense, and so we'll see how they're ready to counteract that this week.
Yeah, and the other thing they do have, I totally agree, that receiving core is, I mean, Bourne has been pretty good. He kind of had a minor breakout, but he's not a top receiver on most teams. But Hunter Henry is actually their leading receiver when it comes to yards, and we've talked about it plenty over the years about the Jets defending the tight end. So I mean, the good thing is you don't have those, studs on the outside that have to draw all your attention, which means hopefully you can draw something up to control Hunter Henry in the middle at the tight end spot.
I do wonder if at points, if they put Sauce, and then he won't travel with them or anything, but if he's on Sauce's side of the field, if they put Sauce on Hunter Henry, because we've seen them do that against tight ends sometimes since Sauce got here. Last year against Mark Andrews is the one that jumps out in particular, but I think that would be a way to counteract that, because the linebackers do struggle in coverage, especially. I'd say Quincy is still developing in that area, and I think Jamie and Sherwood has been kind of rough in coverage. So, the tight end is going to be the scary spot for sure.
The one thing I will say about this Jets defense is there's got to be a chip on their shoulder this week. I mean, they got exposed by the Cowboys, and plus they've heard it for a whole week. So I would imagine we're going to see like an extra intense effort from this Jets defense. And it's a good offense for that to come against, I think.
Yeah. And I think you're going to need it, because one thing I'm curious about is how the fans are on Sunday, because I think they're pretty fired up right now. They're a pretty angry bunch anyway, but I've seen them be pretty angry this week. And I think I heard WFAN apparently was trying to get people to do the whole cheer for Zack no matter what thing to support him. I don't think that'll work. So I'm curious to see what the fan energy is like, because that would really feed into this, especially the defense. I think they could really feed off the energy. You saw that week one, that energy was phenomenal. It was as loud of a MetLife week one as I've seen. So I think the fans are going to play a role in this game, because if it gets bad early, you're going to hear some boos, I think. So hopefully Zack can at least just do his job, so the defense come out there to a hyped up crowd and they can get some positive vibes back going again.
All right, let's touch on the quarterback. I think we were on it a little bit, but to go more into if this goes badly for Zach Wilson and the Jets, we've heard all the talk about, the possibility. Colt McCoy is the name that you hear the most about, who's clearly going to be a backup. And the Jets messaging to the quarterbacks that they've so far spoken to has been clear that, if you come in here, you're Zach Wilson's backup. But can that change? Do the players they talk to change? And does the kind of angle of those conversations change depending on how Zach plays on Sunday?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have a great answer. But I do think how this game goes will dictate if and when they do add somebody. Maybe the degree of which will depend on how terribly or how well it goes. I don't know if they can keep rolling with just the two quarterbacks. They at least should have had somebody to the practice squad at minimum. But somebody like Colt McCoy, seen Carson Wentz's name getting some buzz lately. I know that Diana Rossini reported that they reached out to Chad Henne, and he's like, I'm okay. I'm staying retired.
That would have been a good one.
Yeah.
And I mean,
especially because he knows the offense
Chad when he was in high school. So it would have been kind of,
he played for Hackett in Jacksonville. So that's the connection there. So they're clearly going for guys who they feel like can just adapt to a new offense quickly, or that have been in the offense. I know there's been a lot of noise about Kirk Cousins because the Vikings kind of stink, and and the Jets if they want to like be a contender this year, and he's on an expiring contract. But everything I've heard is that is not happening. Like, I think everybody could stop dreaming. It's been a very big.
They just
talking
traded
point
for
on, like,
Cam Akers too, so they're clearly not like throwing in the towel.
Yeah, and not only that, but the Jets can't trade their first round pick this year, and so I don't. It would take a first round pick to get Kirk Cousins from them at the least. So, it's not happening. You guys can stop dreaming on that. I know you want to aim high at all times because that's kind of like being a fan, but it won't be Kirk Cousins. Ben Roethlisberger's not coming out of retirement. Tom Brady's not coming here. Don't think Phillip Rivers is coming here. It'll be somebody like Colt McCoy. And as we talked about on the pod, it feels like forever ago at this point, like who they could possibly sign. Like the ones that still make the most sense to me are guys like Jameis and Jacoby Brissett. But, to the original point that others have made, like, why are these teams just going to like give up a backup quarterback to help out the Jets? Like, I don't know if it would be as simple as it sounds. So, I don't know what that looks like if it is just a Colt McCoy, who, from what I understand, does have like offers from other teams as well, and he's still like trying to get cleared medically, I think. So it's not going to be exciting, I would imagine. But if like they win and Zack looks terrible, like maybe that motivates them to aim higher. I don't know, but I don't know. It's hard to tell where this is going to go. I think they want Zack to. They're trying to wait as long as they can so they don't hurt Zack's confidence, I think. We're going to find out what that looks like on Sunday, and if his teammates are as supportive of him if he has a bad game again against the Patriots, which, if you remember last year, that's when Garrett Wilson had his most like fiery comments last year, was after, I believe, the second Patriots game, but I can't remember.
Which was exactly. much later in the season than where we are right now. We'll see if they keep the band together here as far as like the camaraderie and all of that. All right, should we do picks?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm gonna
should I say my pick for the Jets game first?
Well, yeah, we can. Well, I was gonna do. Yeah, we still haven't worked out the kinks on this whole system, huh?
We're just gonna pick. I thought we were just gonna do where we each pick like 3 games.
We were gonna do 3 games. I'm bringing up all my picks as a visual cue. How's that? And then
that sounds good.
But I was gonna talk about the Jets game too. So
okay,
3 games that I was gonna talk about out of this batch. Niners minus 10.5 versus the Giants. These are, I guess, if I had to have a lock, these are the three locks.
So if you're listening to this, that's the game on Thursday night. So if somebody listens to this on Friday, it will have already happened, obviously.
You'll know that I'm already brilliant on this. No, it's a big spread. It is a big spread, minus 10.5. But the Giants, all kinds of injuries. And I feel like they just, like, they couldn't make the spread big enough here because it's in San Francisco. The Niners are just rolling. The Giants are in a tough spot, even though they got the win last week. And I just think that game's a blowout. Then I have, I think the Dolphins minus 6.5 versus Denver is a lock, the way that Dolphins team is playing. And Denver, I'm not sold there. And then finally, I was going to take in the Patriots Jets game, minus 2.5 for the Patriots. You know what, Zach? Until the Jets beat them, I just refuse. I think last year I took the Jets both games. We didn't pick the Jets game, but I think we talked about it every time. In both games, I said, this is it. The Jets are going to do it. The streak stops at 12. The streak stops at 13.
Yeah, how many times have you done that?
Yeah. So until they do it now, I'm going Patriots. The Patriots minus 2.5. So those are my 3. What do you got?
All right. My 3, I'm going to start with, I have the Saints plus 1.5 against the Packers. I think the Saints are kind of underrated. I think they're pretty good. See, there were actually some good games this week. This is great podcasting right here. I'll say Ravens minus 8 against the Colts, because I don't know if Anthony Richardson's going to play. And I think the Ravens are pretty good, even if they are banged up on offense a little bit. And
I took the Ravens. Yep.
Yeah. And I'll say, let's see. I'll say the Titans plus 3.5 against the Browns. Actually, no, the one I wanted to do, I just remembered because they're a disaster. The Chiefs minus 13.5 against the Bears. The Bears look like a bigger disaster than any team in the NFL right now. It's been their quarterback calling out their coaching staff. There's all the crazy stuff going on with the coach that resigned, and all the rumors that were flying around him that seemed like they were all fake. But it was just like a banner day in Bears history. So I'll go with that one. And for the Jets game, I think I'm going to do this selfishly and pick the Jets because I'm like you. Until they do it, I'm not exactly ready to believe that they can, but I'm going to predict they win because I want this to be a fun season. And if they lose this game, I think it could go off the rails pretty quick. So I'm predicting the Jets to win for selfish reasons. I do think they have the better roster. It just comes down to Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson plays well, they'll win. If Zach Wilson plays okay, I think they'll win. If he plays poorly, they will lose.
That's going to be the story of the season, right? I mean, I obviously hope they win too. I think it makes for just everything. Everything is better for us if the Jets win this game, for sure. So I hope they do. They just need to prove it to me.
If they do win, I'll say I picked them to win because I knew they could do it, not because it was for selfish reasons. So
there you go. And Marissa took them, right? That was Marissa took the Jets.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. What else? Anything else before we say goodbye?
No. Todd Downing's going to talk to us for the first time. That won't be till later today. But I'll be curious to see what kind of stuff he'll have to say because he's kind of running the quarterback room. But yeah,
this is the comment of the year so far. By the way, Marissa going on maternity leave is the Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles in the podcasting.
It's true. We do miss her quite a bit for a lot of reasons. It was great to have her back. It felt like she had never left today. Like even just having her there in the background, like reacting to our commentary I missed that. But
yep.
When there's just two boxes on here, it just feels a lot more lonely, you know?
All right. We're going to go Monday. We could go Monday next week. If you
we should be able to do Monday. Available. Yeah.
Okay. Cause I feel like there's going to be
actually it's a big Monday for Zach Rosenblatt. My girlfriend is moving in that day, but we'll figure out the time. Yeah. Big move. I didn't even tell you guys that on the lead up. So
breaking. I wish I had a
news at the end.
Where's the breaking news stinger? This is huge.
Yeah. Big news.
And you didn't even bring it up when Marissa was on.
I know. I forgot about it because you were talking about the baby and, I didn't want to make it about myself, but.
So she's moving into your place.
Yeah. In Jersey City. She's leaving the city.
Jersey City.
She's a Jersey girl. She's from
in
New York.
Manhattan.
She's from Long Island. She lives in Manhattan and she's coming to Jersey. I converted her.
See if you can get her to change her driver's license. Well, that's the next step. See how long she hangs on to that New York driver's license.
Got some funny comments in the thanks for everybody saying congrats. That's very nice. We'd still be going to the city a lot because I love going over, but yeah, big moments in life.
They're pouring in. Get all
I'm trying to catch up to all you guys with all your full-on families and stuff,
Got to move fast. All right, man. Good stuff. We'll be back on Monday. No matter what happens in this game, I think we're gonna have a ton to talk about. I think it's gonna be a good podcast. Hopefully for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. But either way, we hope you come back and join us again next week on the Can't Wait podcast.